Good Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pitt Game Day postgame. So I'm Mason Sapesky, your host here with you, and today we wrap up Pitt's disappointing 21-17 loss at the hands of the Wake Forest Deacons on Saturday afternoon. This one hurts. We should be 3-4 right now. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about the fact that we're the better team. And here's why. We'll get to the play call later in the video, but I'm going to start off by just talking about the game in general. So we score, I think, on our opening possession to make it 7-0 Panthers. And then it stays 7-0 Panthers for the longest time. Then Wake Forest has like an 18-yard touchdown, make it 7-7. Then late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, I forget which one, we kick a field goal. We lead 10-7. I didn't watch much of the game. I only watched the ending of the game. Yesterday I was out doing stuff, but I got to the ending when I was eating in a restaurant out to eat, so that's what I saw. But anyway, so that's why I don't know a whole lot. I followed it on my phone, but didn't watch it really. And I haven't watched highlights yet either, and I don't really want to. But anyway, though, it's 10-7 now. Late in the fourth quarter, with like 3 minutes left, Wake Forest gets a big rushing touchdown. It's 14-10. Then Pitt's offense with 3 minutes left, and this is like my first like wrong, like where I was disappointed, like I think things went wrong. With 3 minutes left, we're down 4 points. We score on a quick drive, take the lead with 17-14 with a minute 30 left. And you might say, Mason, why are you upset we're in the lead and that we gave Wake Forest way too much time? If we would have moved that ball a little slower and had that drive be a little slower with the same ending outcome, we should have led 17-14 with like 12 seconds. That's what good coaching does. And I'm not saying RJC's a bad coach. I praised him last week, and he's not the reason we lost. Nobody on this team is the reason we lost. I'll get into that. I'll get into the true reason we lost in a minute. But anyway, here's the deal. That's the first wrong. We should have never gave them that much time. But with 50-some seconds left, MJ Devonshire got an interception. Looked like the game was all but over. 17-14. We go free now with like 40-some seconds left. Have to punt it to Wake Forest. They get the ball back. With 20 seconds left, 4th and 1, Wake Forest goes for it. Wake Forest gets like a 20-some yard completion, and that gives them a first down. The next play, Wake Forest barely gets a touchdown, and with 7 seconds left, the Deacons lead 21-17 over Pitt. And then Pitt didn't have time, and that's how the game ended. Here's my opinion. We're the better team. We should have went into Wake Forest and won that game. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. Christian Valu got that first down. And you might be calling me a crybaby, but let's pull up a picture. He's well over. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And you cannot blame him for this. And I will go into the other scenarios. I just want to see this picture. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull this up for you guys. E.J. Manuel said that's the worst call ever. The CW last night in the Virginia-Carolina game refused to show it in highlights. The ACC, I think, is embarrassed by this. They know Pitt should have won this game. We all know. I can't find it. But we all know Pitt should have won this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Anyway, though, here's the deal. We're not going to be bowl eligible this year. Regardless of if we won this game, I still don't think we would have been bowl eligible this year. We screwed up too much early. WVU, that should have been a Pitt win. Cincinnati, that should have been a Pitt win. Tech, Virginia Tech, that could have been a win. This should have been a win. The only game I could see us truly losing, like where we just got out-dominated, where we like truly played a bad game, North Carolina, who just got beat yesterday by Virginia at home. This sport is insane. Pitt is in the bottom this year for ACC teams. And it is so weird. Let's look at 2021. And this is what gives me hope for the future. Let's look at 2021. Pitt, Cincinnati, Michigan State. The free Midwestern, kind of Midwestern, because we're not technically Midwest, but they're in that like little triangle here. Because if you look at a map, you have Pittsburgh here, Cincinnati here, Michigan State here. So the triangle, this little triangle, was very good. Michigan State was 10-2. Cincinnati was 12-0, went to college football playoff. Pitt, 10-2. All had very good years. You know who did not have very good years? The Washington Huskies, 4-8, 5-7, I don't know. The Florida State Seminoles, 5-7. And who was the other one? I know USC was bad, but they're not as good now either, so... Look, I know they're going to be bowl eligible, but they're not like a playoff team anymore after they lost. I'm missing somebody. I forget who I'm missing, but... Anyway, not an issue, but... Washington and Florida State. They were both pathetic. They both missed bowl games. Oh, TCU. TCU. That's it. 5-7. Guess what? TCU made the playoff last year, and Washington and Florida State should be able to do the same this year if they run the table. So that gives me hope that in 2 years, Pitt can be something. But out of those three teams in that little Midwestern triangle that I mentioned, Pitt, Cincinnati, Michigan State, Pitt by far has to be the most disappointing. And here's why. Cincinnati changed conferences. They lost their coach. This was kind of expected. Cincinnati. The Big 12 is much harder than the American Athletic Conference, and Cincinnati's learned that, I think. Luke Fickell made an impact on Cincinnati. And he's gone Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin's not like special or phenomenal or anything, but they're still a good powerhouse football team. And they're only getting better. He's made them better. So, Luke Fickell had an impact too. Now they're 2-5. Michigan State, 2-5 as well. And if you think Pitt's bad, look at Michigan State. They had their coach fired earlier this year for sexual harassment reasons. And last night, while Israel is in the middle of a war and the Jewish community is suffering, and just yesterday, I think it was a Detroit synagogue leader, got murdered. Michigan State goes out and puts a photo of Hitler on their scoreboard. That, and then they lost 49-0 to Michigan. Figures. So, I'm not trying to make any excuses for Pitt. But if we think we're bad, just look at Michigan State. And hopefully this stunt or this chaos that's unfolding in Michigan State makes Narduzzi want to stay here even more and not want to go back. The reason I want to keep Narduzzi is because I want to keep Valu. Because I think Valu truly is the answer. So, but point being is, if you think Pitt's rock bottom, just look at Michigan State. But there's no excuses. What I was going to say, though, about Michigan State is they obviously had their issues with their coach this year, and that roster is not talented. So Pitt fans, out of those 3 teams that I just said were good in 2021 but are pathetic in 2023, Pitt, Cincy, and Michigan State, Pitt should be the most embarrassed. Because these two have, Michigan State and Cincinnati, they have valid reasons to not be as competitive as they were. Pitt doesn't. This is embarrassing. So we'll have to see what happens, for sure. But now back to the slide. If I were, and I read this yesterday, so this is why I believe it. If I were Valu, the smart thing to do would have just kept running and go out of bounds. And here's why. The clock would have stopped with 43 seconds. Wake Forest only had 2 timeouts. You run a play with 42 seconds left. They call timeout with 37. Yes, about. You run a play with 37 seconds left. They call timeout with like 32, 31, 30 seconds left. And at that point, it's 3rd down. You could either just knee or do another run play. That ends the football game. Okay, I get it. It's a young mistake. He's a sophomore. But you got to keep running. This isn't the Super Bowl where you're Jerick McKinnon and you slide at the 1-yard line because you don't want to give Philly time to win it. And that's kind of stupid what Pitt did yesterday in that regard, like I just said. You look at that. You think back to that Super Bowl where McKinnon slid. He slid for a reason. Because he wanted to give Kansas City the win. He didn't care about himself. He didn't care about his ego. And credit to Andy Reid. And that's what makes good coaching. Because if he would have went in, Philly would have got the ball back with 50-some seconds. And they would have had time to drive the field and score a touchdown. If Pitt would have been more time, managed the clock better, with 3 minutes left, and scored that touchdown with, say, 12 seconds or 15 seconds, we would have won this game. Between that, coaching, or that play calling situation, trying to drive the field quick and all that, instead of taking your time and doing it the right way, and the Valu thing, that's what cost Pitt. That's a winnable game. And that's what makes this one hurt. Pitt didn't stink yesterday. Pitt didn't play a bad game at all. But remember, those 2 things, I think, cost Pitt. Those are the 2 reasons Pitt won this game. Or Pitt lost this game. Give where credit's due, though. Wake Forest played good, and they responded well for their homecoming. But that was an ugly, ugly win for them. So, yeah. Officiating was pathetic. Certain decisions were pathetic. And that's the reason Pitt lost. Nothing else. Don't blame the defense. Don't blame the last drive. Don't blame Christian Valu. Our coaching and the referees is why we lost. This team's not going to be bowl eligible. This team's going to get eliminated from bowl eligibility contention in 2 weeks at Acrisure when we lose to Florida State. This season's a lost cause at this point. However, the future is not. On November 25th, Pitt's football year will end, and we'll be able to remember this as a lost season and flush it down the commode. And then we must move forward to 2024 and make sure that Christian Valu gets all the help he needs this offseason so that he can be productive and that we can have a good team next year. Because I truly do have faith. Sorry about that. Right now, though, you can't really judge Pitt with the opponents and all that. There was an ACC schedule that was published with an opponents thing. However, that has since been taken down because the ACC has to do a new 7-year plan because of the additions of Stanford, Cal, and SMU to the conference. Who knows if they'll be coming into Acrisure next year or if we'll be going out to the Bay Area or even down to Dallas. That'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know if I hope we played at least one of them next year, regardless of where it is. It's going to be interesting for sure, but all you can look at right now is the non-conference schedule. And honestly, it's nowhere near as this year. Kent State at home should win that. At Cincinnati, I don't know. I think we lose that. WVU at home, I definitely think we win at home against WVU. And then Youngstown State. A 3-1 start would be good. And then all you have to do is win half your ACC games to get back to bowl eligibility. So the road ahead looks better for Pitt. This season's a lost cause. All that matters at this point for Pitt is the development of Christian Valu. That's it. Because if he develops well, this team will be competitive next year and for the next 2-3 maybe years. Who knows? Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Next week, the Pitt Panthers travel to South Bend, Indiana to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Kickoff, I think, is at 2:30, maybe 3:30. I don't know for sure. I think 2:30. It'll be an interesting one. Pitt did beat Louisville. Louisville did beat Notre Dame, but this one's going to be much tougher. This is in South Bend. It'll be an exciting trip for sure for the Panthers. So, yeah, definitely interesting times for them. Hail to Pitt. Hopefully next week's a better week. I doubt it, though, because Notre Dame is really good. Sam Hartman, Joe Alt. They have other talent, too, but I just don't know them. I haven't followed Notre Dame much this year. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting game for sure. I will see you next Saturday for the Pitt Game Day pregame show where we'll preview Pitt's matchup at Notre Dame. Then we will recap the game after the game on the Pitt Game Day postgame show. Definitely interesting times for Pitt for sure. It gets tough. It was definitely a tough schedule, that's for sure. So if any year is going to be a bad year, make it this one. So that's all I have for you guys today. Have a good week, everybody. I'll see you back here next on Saturday night or Saturday morning for the Pitt Game Day pregame. So take care, stay safe, pray for Israel, and as always, peace. See you next week.